If you have a library, continue to build it. If you don't, start one today. Start with one book. That's all it takes. You start with one, you know, and journal, because these become a part of your books as well. You know, part of what helped me bring this one back.
Oh boy.
Woo!
Here we
So
go.
first of all, wait a minute. Do we hear it? That's a hardcover, right?
You hear a hardcover.
That's a hardcover, right? So, all right, so I love this author. Okay. So being a Jersey girl, you know, I don't look for Jersey authors specifically, but when I find one, I'm like, ooh, you know, and want to know what they were doing. Well, Walter Bell, B-E-L-L, Denny, D-E-N-N-Y, is an author that I found, believe it or not, traveling to Arizona.
Okay.
So back when I was a younger lady, I would travel around looking for books. I still do this, but when I was young, I was like on a mad pursuit. Like I would just go anywhere for a book, right? Mm-hmm. And I heard about this bookstore that was out in Arizona by out there near a friend that I knew, and I was like, I need to go to this library. I need to go to this bookstore, and I need to go to the library. Well, when I got out there, I found this old book, and I love, Nick, that you just put up recently how I told you books be calling me. Yeah, they be talking to me. They be like, come here. So his books came to me, and he is he's a writer, and he writes a lot on theological things, so all things spiritual, things like that. And it's older. So this book that I'm bringing this week is from 1934. Woo. 1934, and it is The Career and Significance of Jesus.
What in the world? The Career and the Significance?
Yes.
What in
the Career and the Significance of Jesus.
What?
Yes. See it, my friend. See it. So
what in the world?
And it was made out to someone named Theodore Brindle. So shout out Theodore Brindle for putting this book in the bookstore so I could get it. And, before I go too far, I want to say, before I talk about why I picked it up and everything, because like I said, it was author recognition. I want to talk about where I got the book. And the reason why is we were just talking about bookstores and how we lose a lot of our bookstores and things like this. Well, you know, I'm big on my bookmarks. My original bookmark from this store,
Wonder Book,
and they are still online, and I believe they have 3 locations, right? They are all in Maryland, and I got this book on 12/4/2017, and it cost me a whole $7.38.
Woo!
Yes. A whole $7.38. I still have my invoice. That's what makes it so funny, because I keep stuff like that for keepsakes.
Yeah.
You know, so I could tell people back in my day, you could get a book for $7. But anyway, let's talk about this book. So Denny does a lot of spiritual writing. He does some wonderful books. And the thing I love about his books is that his books are teaching books. Okay. They don't just give you a bunch of information. They are books that walk you through chapters. At the end, you have questions, you have, you know, assignments. You always have these things. And he was doing this back in the 20s and the 30s. And this is still the style that I use now as Dean of Education for my organization, is that when we put together anything, we put together questions and things that we can apply for today. And that is something that he does well in here. So let's talk about it. Like I said, book was done in the 30s, 1934, by Thomas Nelson and Sons in New York. Walter Bell Denny is a professor of philosophy and religion, and he was at Russell Sage College. Okay. And the first printing of this book was 33. Second printing was 34. And the third printing was at the end of 34. Table of contents. And as you can see, I keep this book in excellent condition. I refuse to let anything happen to this book because it's so amazing. Like, I was sitting here trying to prepare my notes, and it felt like I just wanted to not do unread and sit down and just do some lessons. So that's how you know it still has its So I got this book because here at MaWu Lisa Temple, when we study, we like to look at things from different perspectives, and we tell people that inside of every book, just like my Nana told me, is 99 lies and one truth, and it's your duty to go in and find that one if you want it. So I take on that challenge with every book that I pick up, and let me just say, the table of contents in this baby ain't no joke. So in the foreword, he talks to the teachers and students, and that's what he does. He lets you know. He said this book is designed primarily for one semester course of 3 hours per week. He even give you the breakdown. He said this book is for one semester, 3 hours a week, and it will serve equally well, however, for a 2-hour session by omitting part 2, because part 2 get deep on you, right? So it says the entire course is based upon the students' firsthand study of selected portions of the Bible. Now, Nick, you know, when we brought some other stuff to the table before about any spiritual text, we always talk about what was actually going on in that time. Not what we see now, what was there then. And one of the things about this book that's very important is that they do a historical reference to maps. And we'll see what's very important about that as I continue to share, inshallah. So in the first chapter, he does the career of Jesus. And people say, well, what career did he have? He had a job. You know what I mean? He had a job. His job was, uplift fallen humanity like the rest of us, right? But it was a way in which he went about it. So it talks about the growth of the gospel tradition, writing the 4 gospels, the birth of Jesus itself, the growth of Jesus, political and religious conditions in Palestine. Remember that one, okay? The national problem in Jesus' time. Remember that one. The call of Jesus, the message and the program of Jesus to his people, the opening of the Galilean campaign, rise of opposition, inner circle, the kingdom of God and his coming, Jesus as a wonder worker. I mean, when I tell you this, that's just in part 1. And part 2, remember he said if you skip it, you could do just 2 hours of study versus 3. But in the part 2 is the significance of Jesus, and that would bring us, if we were doing this as a study right now, that would bring us forward with this other stuff that I'm going to talk about with Palestine, etc. Okay, so it tells us that our knowledge of the life of Jesus Christ is derived mostly and wholly from the 4 gospels, and it's only a few references to Jesus's career, especially to his character. And while these are not numerous, they are important. The Jewish historian Josephus, who, I'm gonna slip that book in there one day. I really was so tempted to bring it as a backup book today, but it's like this thick. So I was like, let me just stop with the madness, right? So it says so the Jewish historian Josephus, who wrote the last decade in the 1st century AD, makes 1 or 2 references to Jesus and John the Baptist and later references. Okay, so where do I want to go? I want to start right here with the Palestine piece, and that's chapter 5. So I know I'm jumping ahead, but again, if I was to sit here with you and give you every favorite part of this book, we will be here for hours. But I wanted to bring this forward. Now, let me just say in advance, for anyone listening right now, anyone listening in the future, not now or at any time have I ever been a historian in cartography, which is map life, right? Nor am I an expert in history. However, because sacred studies, of all religions have been a part of my life for about 30 years or so, I've studied a lot of maps, and I've learned a lot about how the topography changes, you know what I'm saying, depending on when it was and the maps that they were using, etc. So where you might find something today, you wouldn't find it tomorrow. For example, people don't realize in New Jersey at one time, Newark went all the way up to West Caldwell. That was all Newark. It was not separate. It wasn't West Orange, East Orange, Valesburg. Nope, it was all Newark, all the way up to West Caldwell and beyond, Livingston area included. But anyway, so that's important in understanding this work, because you remember he said that this study is for those who have already began to study this type of work and where things were, because it was important to the politics of what was taking on. Whenever people think about Jesus, first of all, they think, all kinds of miracles and things like that, which is great. But they forget that it was a very political side to what was going on back then, why the church wanted to take place. Why the church wanted to make sure that certain things were in place, why politicians wouldn't allow certain things to be in place, etc. And the fact that we have been having so many problems in Palestine and other places that are mentioned in this work in 1934, mind you, 1934. So we wonder where the root of some stuff comes from. And we be looking real close to us. Sometimes the root is back. You know what I mean? Is back there. So the fact that chapter 5 here talks about the political and religious conditions in Palestine is very important. And it says an outline for the map study. If possible, use a large raised map of Palestine to supplement the smaller maps in this book. If each of the following details is traced out carefully on the map and then learned thoroughly, the student will be provided with all the really important geographical background for the study of Jesus's career. Because see, if we understand what this Jesus person was doing in this region at this time, we begin to understand what's going on in Palestine today. Okay? So It talks about the major physical divisions in Palestine. It talks about the political divisions during his time and now. Well, not now, but during his time compared to now. Scenes of the Galilean ministry, roots between Galilee and Jerusalem, which was important because, the people you're talking to is the people within your route. So these are the people that you affect when you are doing your work. And it talks about the Roman government of Palestine and Herod the Great. And if you are not familiar with Herod the Great and his kingdom, he had 3 sons, and when he died, he split the land up between the 3 of them. But what was different was he didn't allow them to be kings. And so that has a lot to go on with what's going on today. I'm telling you, it's very cheeky. It's very cheeky, very scandalous, very wicked. Is all the things. It's all the things. Like, you could really end up having a heated debate, but with this kind of stuff in your hand, you have something that other people don't have, which is another perspective of what was really going on in that time. We only hear what they're telling us right now. And most people, unfortunately, won't do the due diligence to go back and see the root of how all of this started. Trust me, ain't nobody just woke up one day and say, oh, we're going to pick on these people, or these people going to pick on us. It comes from a long-standing problem, and it started with the division of his land and the rights that were taken away from his sons. And then it went on to talk about his cruelty and things like that in the Jewish Sanhedrins. So, you talked about the Bhagavad Gita and some of the other, and as you're part of your reading now and things like that. Again, You have to remind people what was going on in one part of the land wasn't going on everywhere. You know, and we tend to look at the world that way. When we hear a story about something, we think, oh, this is what was going on, but that was only there. Good afternoon. Okay, so moving forward, the national problem in Jesus' time. It talked about the apocalyptic idea of God and how they turned God into this apocalyptic, vengeful, frightening being that was supposed to be doing all these things like this. And then he talks about the Son of Man and how he referred to himself as the Son of Man. And they talked about the feelings going on in that time and the political unrest that was going on. It says, during the lifetime of Jesus, his country was aflame with political unrest and agitation. Rome governed with an iron hand. Every patriotic Jew resented with all his passionate soul the forced necessity of submitting to a foreign yoke. Every new taxation, every fresh cruelty of the Roman or Herodian administrators, every new intrusion of foreign customs or foreign religion into the land was resented not only as a new token of servitude, but as an insult to Jehovah, who had given Palestine to Israel for his own possession and who had planned for his chosen people the destiny of the greatest nation on earth. Now, you know, in order to talk about this, we need to go and see who were the Jews then that they were talking about. This is when I need my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters to jump in the chat and start talking that talk. But we gonna let that go, right? But let me just move forward to the end of this chapter for a minute, and I want to show you how they have the further reading at the end of every chapter. There's further reading and questions. Sometimes they'll have a lot of questions. Sometimes they'll have a few, but it's always further reading involved as well. It says, why have the evidences of the Jewish-Roman problem been so largely obliterated in the records? So in other words, why ain't nobody talking about this? Why to this day, nobody's talking about this? What really happened, why it really happened, what was really going on at the time? It says, why were all three of the popular solutions of the Jewish-Roman problem suicidal for the Jewish nation? Not the Jews, but the Jewish nation. And what's the difference? Yeah. And then it asked the question, and this is tying into something I'll be reminding our audience about later about upcoming events and roundtables. It says, does war ever promote friendship among nations? This is 1934. They asking this question.
Wow.
Does it ever? When has war ever produced anything but more war? And it goes on and tells you, it's some more reading here. Further reading, The Jewish Apocalyptic Ideas by Dougal and Emmett, The Lord of Thought is the name of that book.
Interesting.
So let's move on forward a little bit, because like I said, I have so much highlighted here that I wanted to share, and I'll probably share this in another video, you know, when we can have more time to just kind of kick in and talk about each in particular point. But here's one that I think is important, because one of the things we talk about is we love to have writers on this spot here. On our platform, we love new writers. We love old writers. If you wrote a book, reach out to us. We want to share it. I'm gonna tell you why your writing is so important, scribes. It says, the scribes had loaded down the Sabbath with a great burden of intricate regulations and special prohibitions. Religion to them consistent in just the sort of thing. It talks about how those who use the pen tell the story. Don't have to be an accurate story. It's their version of the story. And they mention that in here several times. And not only that, they mention the fact that a lot of the things that were contributed to Jesus had nothing to do with anything he ever said. It was their interpretation of. And that's why, again, writing is what it is. When you write a story, you write from the perspective in which you're writing. And this is what these people were doing. They were writing from their own political perspective. They were writing from their own religious perspective. They were writing from their own atheist perspective sometimes. Sometimes they were writing just in the way of being able to make more money. You know what I mean? So again, taxation was a big taxation, land, sovereignty, all the things that's going on right now is the major part of what it is that Jesus was supposed to be sharing and flipping tables over back there at this time. So why we act like they don't know, right? So I mean, always taking things for, always taking things off the page, like, this had to be like it was when, again, you have to begin to look at things in a different way, right? It says it talks about how Jesus couldn't be attacked openly. They couldn't openly attack him. It talked about, and it says the key thing in which Jesus pointed out was that the religion lies in the usefulness of its helping. So in other words, it doesn't matter if it's true or false. It matters, how did it affect you and how is it going to make you want to be better?
That's a great point.
You see what I'm saying? We see a lot of things going on. How are you going to interpret that? How do you make a better you from that? And that was one of the things they said. And they said that the plot of the scribes of the Pharisees, they were trying to basically say that he was saying something wrong, but they couldn't, because he didn't say anything wrong. He was just offering a different perspective in which to look at something. It says and it says the popularity of Jesus with the common people suggested the need for subtlety. They had been beating religion. They had been beating people over the head with religion and politics, beating them over the head. He came in like, hey, let me talk to you about this thing right here. Let me show you how I float on water. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you could believe that he floated on water, or did he float on water? So that's a whole nother thing, right? And it says, it went on to say, the questions here, I love the questions at the end of this one. It says, is anger consistent with love? What a question, right? For then and for now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is anger consistent with love? And it also asks, if a man were to appear among us, living as a pure life and teaching the same theories of life and religion that Jesus taught, what would become of him? Wow, this was 1934. This is 2026.
Yeah.
What do you think would become of him? What do you think would become of him? I think that's a powerful question to ponder.
Yes, it is.
And like I said, I got bunches of notes that I want to talk about, but I'm a talk about this one, and then I'm a stop for questions if there's any from the audience. Nick, this one right here is personal to me.
Okay.
All right, so it talks about the inner circle. And the 12 disciples.
Yes.
And how he chose the 12 disciples.
Okay.
Because that's my big thing. Well, how do you vet the people? How do you decide who's gonna be on your side? How you decide, who not? Did you know Judas was gonna betray you? What are these things we asking, right? So it talks about the inner circle, and it talks about the great multitude, and he appointed the 12 and the scribes that came down from Jerusalem. And one of the things that they mentioned that I find very important in here is that when you read the story of the Bible as it stands right now, it's made to seem like his choosing of these 12 was almost random, right? He was a fisher of men. He saw these men and he went to the fishermen. He got the fishermen, blah, 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 right?
Yes.
What they explain in here and what they walk you through in here is that it by no means was it a coincidence, was no means the first time that he ever met them. He studied their character before approaching them. You understand what I'm saying? Before approaching them, because why would I bring some thought-provoking information to someone who is completely closed-minded and have their mind made up on what it is they already believe? So I can't come to you. Like it said, he had to come with subtlety because they had been beating the people in the head so much that they were opposed to anything that sounded like religion or politics. Just like now, when you try to talk to anybody, the stuff we talking about right now, somebody gonna be like, why is he talking about Jesus? They always talking about Jesus and Allah and God and angels and they. Listen, bruh, sis. Y'all don't even know what you listen. Don't let them words fool you. Don't let them words fool you away from your refinement, yo. There's some refinement in this stuff. It ain't listen, it don't matter if it was ever a person, physical person walking named Jesus. We got some excellent opportunities for lessons here. It tells us even here that everything was in the form of a parable. Look at this, the parable address. It talks about that right here. And it says, because everything came from the teaching source. And the teaching source is where we get the Sermon on the Mount and the other things like that. And it says there was probably a group of such parables in the teaching source, all dealing with the same general theme that were all introduced. Okay? And what he was basically trying to tell the people is, if you want to enjoy a peaceful, peace of mind life here, you're going to have to be willing to separate from the madness that you see all around you. You know? Yes, especially, yes. Whoever that is, yes. I can't see as well as Nick can from his side, but yes, I agree.
Yes, brother C.
Yes, brother C. Thank you, brother C. And he goes on to talk about Jesus as a great original teacher whose genius was to take the current idea of the kingdom of God and rethink it, giving it a new meaning of his own. Why won't we do that? Why won't we do that? Why? Why are we so afraid to say what the kingdom of God look like? I done one thing Nick and I talk about all the time, building our own paradise.
Yes,
you will not trap me in your ideas, in your thoughts, little as they are. Can't do it. Right? And it says just enough. It says just enough like the old meaning to make the phrase the best approach he could find to the minds of his hearers, yet radically different as to the nature of the coming and the extent of the kingdom. We talk about radical. You got to be willing to just snatch away from this stuff sometimes, because it got your mind locked. It got your heart locked. It got your eyes covered, you know? And this is about ripping off the illusion, you know? And I'm gonna stop right there for a second because I'm hot right now. Woo!
I know. You heating it up in there, yeah.
You already know.
Yeah. I mean, you picked the right book for this the weather that we're having this weekend. You timed that right, because you was like, boy, I need some heat up in here. Let me warm it up.
Warm it up, baby.
Yeah, and this you know, this gas and this electricity in this home, it ain't cutting it. I need a little bit more.
Absolutely. I feel warm. I feel fine.
Yeah,
freezing outside, but I feel fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
no questions in the chat, but I just gotta say that when it comes to making these scriptures relevant to today and tangible and useful, and instead of people just kind of waiting around for something to happen, waiting around for judgment, and just making sure they don't ascend too much with judgment, and make sure that they spread the gospel. Other than that, I think this book here really gives that guide to how to make it relevant. Well, not relevant, but make it even more tangible, and make it even more relevant for the day to day, and how to apply in the example of Jesus and the lessons he taught in the day-to-day basis. Like just with going outside and going to shop right. So Roo, you told me you got your groceries delivered, but think about if you actually went there today and all the craziness to shop right. This will be a real test on those lessons right here.
What? What a day!
And also what's so beautiful about this work is that it touches on both the internal self-development and, like you said, refinement, but it also directs itself outward and externally to the world around us, and how we interact with it, and the politics of things going on. I've heard a question posed to a couple Christian pastors. When I listened to a few Fallen State interviews. I listened to those faithfully, but one of the questions that Jesse asked to Christians and pastors, he asked, should Christians be involved in politics?
What a nice question.
And then when you think about the story of Jesus and what he was doing at that time, he was head on with politics in the scripture. Maybe not politics in a way that we're thinking about it in this modern time, but he was definitely involved in some politics for sure.
Well, no, if you think about it, he was directly involved, just like we are today, because I don't know about anybody else, right? But unless you are proactively following the things that are going on around the world, you don't know why we get in half the fights we get in with people, or why we run into somebody's defense, or why two groups is fighting, or whatever like that. You have to really be invested in the world to really be knowing what's going on out there, right?
Yeah.
Denny is showing you in the book the foundation of some of the problems that were going on in Palestine, and the significance is Jesus's role as an educator. That was his career, was going in and facing and opposing these horrible conditions under which people were being treated. So like I said, Herod had these 3 sons, but when he was the king and as he ruled, they talked about how cruel he was. And he was so controlling that not only did he, when he divided his land amongst his sons, because usually a son just succeeds.
Mm-hmm.
But what he did was he divided his land amongst his sons, made one a tiny bit higher than he made the other two, but made them all just basically like landlords. He took away a lot of the rights they had to make rules on their own land and gave it to the politicians. So it goes back to that statement when it says, if you want a king set over you, and the people said yes, because they didn't want to do things for themselves. People don't want to think for themselves. Unfortunately, the majority of people. No disrespect, y'all. It's hard. Believe me. The way they keep us bombarded with nonsense, it is difficult to think about everything you would have to think about to really navigate this world every day. If we had to think about everything, it's hard enough to think about the things going on in your home. You know what I mean? Let alone the things going on in Palestine. Yeah. And then if you don't understand what's going on in Palestine, you just angry for no reason. You don't even know what you're mad about. At least know what you're mad about is all I'm telling people. At least know what you're mad about.
Yep.
I wanna go back in here for a second because it talked about the character of Jesus again, and I again, like I said, I was gonna bring up some stuff that brings all of this together and ties it all together. It says, when he would look at them, the humanity of men and women, he saw a needy family. So when he looked at people in general, just the world, he saw a needy family. He basically saw his brothers and sisters, because it even mentions it here, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, he saw everyone in such need, in such desperation, in such fear of what was going on. Because again, the conditions of these merciless kings and rulers of the land had no regard for the people. So he saw them with a soft eye, and he says, like sheep not having a shepherd, he saw them hungry and foolish, trying to find their deeper satisfaction in the bread that perishes, in kingdoms and in thrones, in swords and in prosperity, to help them find themselves, to realize the dignity and the meaning and the power of their sonship to God, as he himself had realized it. This was his consuming interest, and he carried this world in his heart. Nick, first of all, I got a tear in my eye. Anybody that know me know I don't mind crying. I will do ugly tears. I couldn't give 2 shakes of raisins in a bowl. I'm gonna let you know I got tears in my eyes, because when I was a child, I was raised with my grandma a lot. Like, we spent summers at my grandma's house. And my grandma, she was paralyzed on her left side, and so she couldn't like go out a lot. So she watched TV a lot. So when it came to like church and all that stuff, you had Billy Graham and all that kind of stuff on the TV, and that Puppet Man and all that. So she would sit up sometimes. You would see her sitting up in the middle of the night, and she'd just be rocking back and forth, watching TV, watching these gospel people talk or whatever. And she would put her head down sometimes, and she would just say, Jesus wept. And I promise you, I heard that from every elder, you just always was hearing this, Jesus wept, Jesus wept, Jesus wept. Well, I had no idea what it meant. They give you a reason, but you don't really know till you know. Being a humanitarian all my life, I didn't even know what humanitarian meant. I couldn't even spell humanitarian. But being one all my life, somebody who cares so deeply about the people around me, I didn't understand that statement until one night that I did. I was sitting up and I was thinking about the things that was going on in the world, and I just cried. I just cried because I said to myself, my brothers and sisters don't even know the full power that they have because they so inundated and bombarded by the bullshit every day. You don't even have a chance to recognize your greatness because they keep you distracted with politics and religion. When what this is really about is refinement and humanity and treating people like you want to be treated. Don't you understand? Many of these religions, some of them, yes, was started with the root of power and all that stuff like that. But many times you genuinely found people who were trying to promote love and support and humanity and being humane to each other. And that's the importance of his career, you know what I'm saying, and the significance of his career, because it talks about taking you out of this locked way of thinking. We have been indoctrinated, people, whether we know it or not, each and every one of us. But see, you know, one of the things I was determined to do was I was determined to take what they gave me for my downfall and use it to continue to elevate. Quran, Torah, Bhagavad Gita, Vedas, Circle 7, any book you can put in my hand, I can show you how we can use it for refinement. And this one is no different. And it basically is really showing us that whether, you know, whatever Jesus was or is, because truly it's a way. It's not a he, you know, or she. It's a way. It says, in dealing with this crowd, his human sympathies are evident, and his high conception of the meaning of humanity. But friendship is a reciprocal relation. Can we say that out loud? Friendship is a reciprocal relation, people who don't understand what being a friend is. And this is why Marvin Sapp and them say, no longer do I cry when fake friends say goodbye.
Woo.
Go on now. Get yourself out of here because it's reciprocal. If you're not helping me rise, you are holding me in place or pulling me down. Either way, it's not acceptable. Either way. That's right. Thank you, baby. I appreciate you. It says it requires the mutual responsiveness of two individuals to make it real. To make it real. Yo, I'm done. I'm done. Because see, I'm about to get up on my soapbox. You know, it's only Saturday, but you know I do holy days every day. But baby, that'll put you on your soapbox right there. Because at this time, there's so much fighting going on. People are so afraid. And the people that we call our friends sometimes are the very problem.
Ain't that the truth?
You know, my mama said you ain't got no friends. Well, Mom, you might have been right. You might have been right, Mom. You might have been right. My mother was right about a lot of things, yo. You know, may Allah be pleased with her. At me, like my mom had boy, she had more things right than wrong. I tell you. Even if she didn't know how to put it into terms, you know what I'm saying? But she knew. And you know, at MaWu Lisa Temple, Nick, you worked with us for the past several years. We've done Human Rights Week.
Yes.
And you know that now that we are here for spring, what are we going to be doing? Unmasking morality. And he goes into morality in here. He goes into morality and virtues in here, and how we determine, you know what I'm saying, right or wrong.
Yes, yes,
What's
yeah. He got both.
And what's not.
Yeah, he got both human rights and morality in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, do you understand how a 1934 book can help us today if we would go in with our fresh minds? Everybody think they so sharp. Yo, let me see. Show me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, show me. You so sharp, show me. Because if we as sharp as we think, we wouldn't keep getting the banana in the tailpipe that this world keep handing us. We have to think for ourselves, people. We have to come out of the me and think about the we. Mm-hmm. And when I say think about the we, that doesn't mean go out here and try to do things for everybody else. It means continue to work on yourself so you can be a shining example. People, you shouldn't have to tell people, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew. We should see it from your actions. We should see it from your actions. You so good, let me see. Because I'm going to tell you, half the stuff I see right now ain't real Christian-like at all. Ain't real Christian-like at all. We should be able to see who you are from your actions, your morals, your virtues, your standards. Your groups of friends, birds of feather flock together. We should be able to see these things. I should not need you to be like, well, I'm a good person. I should know that. You know why? Because your actions would show it. You wouldn't have to tell nobody about it. You wouldn't have to put it on Instagram. You wouldn't have to go on YouTube and talk about, look at what I did. You know, in Islam, they say to give so secretly that your left hand don't know what your right hand doing. Well, as a left-handed person, my left hand always know everything first. But my right hand be moving. And I don't have to tell nobody about it. You know how it's reflected in my life. Because I know when I am at my lowest self, and I think about humanity and the part that I have to play in uplifting fallen humanity, I check myself. Because at the end of the day, I ain't no Jesus, but damn it, I'm walking on water. You know what I'm saying? Oh, no, excuse me. Air and water, because I'm an Aquarius. But that's all for me. The career and significance of Jesus. Walter B. Bell Denny. He is amazing. And let me just say, this is one of my best finds, man. Like I love this book so much. And again, the questions can never get old. The studying of the maps could never get old. The studying of the history of the land itself could never get old. It's a wonderful book. It's a wonderful reference book. It is a read, unread, reread, will read again, referred to as often as possible resource book. So if you can get yourself, I'm sure they have a PDF copy or something available, or maybe you'll be fortunate enough to find a copy like I did. But please put this one on your shelves, people. And if nothing else, go in and just take a few of them questions and sit down with a notebook and see where your morals stand. And if you want to hang out with us talking about unmasking morality over on MaWu Lisa Temple, that'll be over on our other platform. We'll be over there doing that from spring until summer. Unmasking morality, talking about moral standards, virtues, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can't wait. Lots of great things. Yeah, lots of great things coming up. Yes. And yes, I love that offering. And I did a quick search while you were presenting it, and they do have a copy on eBay. And it's the bids are low for it. So go ahead and jump on that.
Absolutely. Whoever gets that book, let me know. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'll be glad to. You know, that's one of the things that Nick and I offer outside of this space is the opportunity to expound upon the books that we bring in this space. We know we only have you for a little time here on Saturday, and we don't want to take up all your time. But believe me, this is what we do all day, every day. You know, in our work and in our play. You know, this is what we do. And I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's one of my joy places, one of my happy places. Just always realizing that I can be better. Always. And I'll find all the ways I can to make that happen. And, you know, reframing a lot of this work that we have available to us already is definitely a way to go.
For sure. For sure. So in closing on the career and significance of Jesus, I know we talked about some of the things that are going on in the world, especially with Palestine and everything that's going on there. My question is, I guess it's a multi-part question, but it's all dealing with the same overarching topic about how this looks, the contents of the book and the questions and the teachings in there, how they're reflected presently, and if we see them reflected presently, that would be my question. What if anything do you notice from that book being put into action now? Like, do you see any current examples of that? And if not, how might that look to you, going forward?
Thank you. That's a great question. And again, I'm no expert in geography, topography, cartography, or the history of that landmass. However, because of doing spiritual studies, you study all that region because that's where all that stuff came from. You do begin to get a little familiar with some of what was going on at the time. Again, some of the places that we call the current names now were not that then. And some of the understanding about what we knew about those lands back then and versus now is different. If I was to say one thing that stood out to me as the key factor of what's going on over there and how we can see what he talks about directly in here to there is the dividing of the land. And the way that the Father divided the land, the way that he divided the land, and how it was always a constant fight for that land and who it belonged to rightfully. And again, you remember they talked about the Jews versus the Jewish nation, and so a few other things there. So these things are places that I would look at right now in the position that's going and the things that's going on right now, and be able to better say, what position that will put us in for the future. But what I do know is we see the cruelness, we see the greed, we see a dividing of a land that don't belong to none of them. None of them. Dividing of a land that don't belong to them, that was stolen in the first place. I always thought it was funny how somebody could fight over something that they stole.
That is funny.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I stole your jacket, but I'm gonna fight with somebody over this jacket. I'm gonna fight with you over your jacket that I stole from you.
Yeah. You like, or when they were casting lots for Jesus's clothes, they got into an argument.
Yo. Hey, don't they do that with the Shroud of Turin anyway? Somebody trying to get some DNA up out of it, but we ain't gonna talk about none of that. But anyway, but yeah, that's definitely how I would see. I would see the land division, the cruelty, the the church and the state fighting where they should not be involved in each, you know, in each of the things, and just the lack of concern for the future of humanity. And because we have to really be honest. If you look at the moral code of a lot of people right now, the virtues, the standards, the principles are sad, man. We are living in some funky times.
Yes, we are. Yes,
we are living in some funky times. And you know, like my mom used to say, you don't need nobody to tell you when you're doing wrong. You know. You know. You know, and that's what he talks about here. And that's one of the things we talk about in Unmasking Morality, is your moral code and checking it to see where you stand today, where you stood before, where you stand right now, and what you looking at moving forward. Because some people on a quick trajectory to just not giving a flying fig Newton. You know what I mean? But some are deeply hurt like he was and want to do something desperately. We see the world as these hungry, unclothed, uneducated, uncivilized folk, and we really shouldn't be there. This is 2026. We got all this technology, and yet you walk around fully ignorant, willfully ignorant, not willing to change your perspective because that's what your mama's said. And he talks about that and how the scribes would keep these traditions even knowing that they were antiquated and they had no place in the present day in which they were writing, but they would write them in there for control. So that's how I see it in relevance to today and what's going on over there. And again, like I said, I'm no expert in what's going on over there right now, but I know when I read books like this, before it ever even happened over there, I'm like, ooh, I seen that coming. Because he said we was coming back to that.
Yeah.
Because it has to come to an end. Just like it started, it has to come to an end.
Yeah. And that's you know, that's and that's over there. And when it comes to being over here, that's where the concern for humanity comes in. That's where the refinement comes in. That's where the morality comes in. You know, so that's how we use the information in that book, and the knowledge in that book for over here as well.
Absolutely. You know, and I want to say also, we have to remember one of the things that they said Jesus's gifts, one of his gifts besides subtlety is that people liked them. People liked him because of his approach. He was approachable. You know, he didn't allow people's status or anything to keep them from sitting at a table with him. He would talk with anybody. He would hang with anybody. And what one of the Pharisees accused him of was that by him hanging with all these low vibrating people, that he was low vibrating. And he had to show, he said, oh no, I'm the frequency, bro. I'm the number. I'm the one. Trust that. When they with me, they on my level. I don't go down there. And that's how we have to feel too. Without any arrogance, very, very modest. I don't use the word humble, very modest. Modestly, we have to be like, oh no, frequency is up here. I'm not going down there.
Oh yeah, and you'll notice that they do rise to the occasion with very, very little resistance.
Very little, because people want to be better. At the core, people want to be loved. They want to be liked. And you know, we've made that such an ugly thing. Oh, you seeking people's man. Don't nobody want to be the Grinch. You know what I'm saying? Because even what did the Grinch show? He just wanted some love too. That's all he wanted.
What it came down to.
that's all it ever come down to. Don't we understand morals of stories? The moral of the story is that's how morals are formed, shaped and molded.
Shaped and molded.
You feel me? You know, it's a wonderful thing when you start doing something because it's just the thing to do versus somebody telling you to, or watching you, or paying you to do it, or you trying to impress somebody. You just do it because it's good, because it feels good, because it is good, because you're helping something and helping somebody. But first and foremost, you're helping yourself. Again, I don't know how half the people sleep at night. Oh, that's right. They take Ambien. Huh, disclaimer, I ain't hating on Ambien, but I am. You know, they taking all these medications and things to go to sleep. You know why you can't sleep? Because your mind is restless. You know why your mind restless? Because your soul restless. Your spirit restless. Because it know it's supposed to be doing something else. You ain't supposed to be part of this world. You're supposed to be in the world, but not of it, my friends. In the world, but not of it. That don't determine who I am out there. I decide who I am. You feel me? Woo. I am that I am because I am. And for me, it's because I know. Hey, Aquarius. But seriously, you know, it's a great book. Great reference. If anybody's interested in any of his other work, I would tell you, go ahead, look it all up. He got some great work. Jersey brother. Boop, boop. Shout out Jersey, Brick City.